Hey, thank you guys for watching, and for all the listeners out there for listening to Bootleg Like Jazz. I'm your host, Q, and as promised, we have who in the studio?
Letrece G. Hey.
Hey. Welcome. Thank you for coming on the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So let's get started. Let's jump right into it.
Sure.
Where are you from?
From Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Not too far from here, from Houston.
225?
225. Stay alive, do or die. We don't say that in Baton Rouge, actually.
Hey, you had me fooled. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we have our little rough spots, but for the most part, Baton Rouge is a great college town. It's a great city to come up in.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Did you go to school out there?
Well, I actually went to school in New Orleans, so I went to Loyola.
Okay.
So I got a little NOLA.
That's
there,
what's up.
Family and friends there as well, but a nice little gumbo, I like
Yeah.
to call it.
Well, hey, let me read this. Give a little people, some of our people, a little bit of background about you.
Okay.
She's the author of this book, The G Code, 15 Keys to Successful Marketing and Branding.
Yes.
What was the process like to write this book?
Well, my whole career has been in communications.
Mm-hmm.
So Loyola undergrad was mass comm. And so straight out the gate, I was always trying to work in communications and in marketing. And so, not going to tell my age about how long ago I graduated.
Oh, okay.
but
we know black don't crack. You know,
but,
you're like 26.
Hey, I'll take that, brother. Add like 11 more years to that, and then and we'll be right on target. But trying to break into the industry and then eventually being able to. The book really is a testament not only to my career, but it also kind of gives a blueprint as far as what to do, what not to do, and just kind of learning from my experiences to try to help others in communications to have like a better road.
Before we go a little further, where can people find your book? Where can they purchase and get it?
Sure. So the easiest way is on my website, LetreCeG.com. But it'll direct you to, it's on Amazon, it's on Barnes & Noble, all your electronic sites. It'll ship the book right to you. So
in your book, you kind of talk about you've gotten past this stage of the DBA, LLC, or whatnot. Mm-hmm. Who is your book for? Sure.
So this book, I always like to call it the quick reference guide for people who are experienced and non-experienced. Like I want people to travel with this book. Kind of like, oh yeah, wait, what was I supposed to know again about Facebook marketing? And they can go to it. So definitely being an easy read and a quick reference guide. So if you're trying to learn, the book, I'm sure you read it, as you can tell, it's a real conversational style writing. So because I wanted it to be easily comprehended.
And it's a quick read too.
Right.
I mean, a lot of chapters are like 4 or 5 pages or less.
Yeah, so I wanted to make it quick but powerful. My uncle who's passed away, bless his soul, he used to always say, Treese, you don't have to make it long, just make it strong. And that's been my mentality for a lot of things in my life, like present people with a powerful product that's going to be beneficial to them, and it'll stick the meat to their bones. Like they'll stay with it. And so the book really is for anyone who wants to know how to further their marketing efforts, but also for those who may be clueless. Like you may have a business or you may have an idea and you don't know how to get it out to people. Yeah. So that's a good reference for you as well.
In your book, you write, we all want to look successful. We feel a tug at our egos when we see those brands online that seem to have it all together. Their colors, logo, IG story, and feed all have the same cohesive vibe and wonder. And we wonder, why can't my business, why can't my brand, why can't what I'm trying to do and push look and feel like that? And the answer you give is authenticity. Right. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. So yeah, in the book, I talk about the difference between being good and looking good. And that speaks to that. So, of course, the looking good is all of that cohesiveness being together, everything being lined up, and all cylinders seem to be clicking. But a lot of times people are out grinding and being good, but they don't have the look together yet. And so I think when I talk about authenticity, I'm going to do a perfect example. We were being authentic in when we decided what we were going to wear today, right?
Yes, we were.
We did not plan this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All. We did not plan this. But
it's kind of funny, right?
Right. But it seems like we were like, let's coordinate our outfits because we're going to be Afrocentric and just be, but we were being authentic in how we wanted to represent ourselves. And that brought a cohesiveness to this interview that we didn't even necessarily plan. But because we were being authentic to ourselves, it manifested.
Did you get the shoes too? You know what I mean? Because the shoes on point with it all. Watch. Ooh wee. Should a dang on bang on shine.
Right, so from head to toe is clicking on all cylinders, and that's because you are being authentic and I was being authentic. And so anytime that you try to be or do something that doesn't feel right to you, basically being phony, being fake, it's only going to get you so far. And so people connect with things when they feel that you're being true and that you are being authentic. And they may not always agree with you, but they're going to respect you because they're like, I know that they're being real.
Right.
And that gravitates people towards you.
So you talked about something I wanted to unpack a little bit more.
Okay.
For people who are struggling to get their look together, what tips, what advice, what do you have for them to help them work on their look? What steps, they can take?
So a lot of times the first thing I'll tell when I'm consulting about image is I like to try to get a better understanding of who they are and where they want to go. So because again, trying to stay authentic,
right,
with authenticity.
Absolutely.
You don't want to try to make this whole fake persona. Like you want the persona to really reflect who they are and, what their business is or where they're trying to go. So I want to try to polish that in a way that makes it appealing and eye-catching to other people. So you really trying to have like those in-depth conversations. And if, you don't have someone to help walk you through that, if you're trying to figure that out on your own, I always say, Erykah Badu has this quote, like, once you write stuff down, it starts getting real.
Hey, that's real. Yeah, that's happened for me. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So literally write it down and say, okay, what are my goals? I want to be an author. I want to help children. I want to be a medical counselor. Whatever it is that you want to do, write those things down. And then think about, how do I want people to perceive me? I want people to perceive me as a professional, as a public speaker, as a counselor. Okay, and then how do we make those things align? So for instance, for me, I'm not trying to be a video vixen or, something like that. So a video vixen wouldn't come dressed in a sweatshirt because that's not the assets that, she's trying.
Keyword assets. I love that.
You caught that. You see what I did there. So, a video vixen wouldn't come dressed in a sweatshirt because she wants to show certain assets, right? And because that's how she's aligning herself and that's what she wants to present. Not knocking that at all, but that's, what she's trying to do. So her outfit and her style and her dress is going to accentuate those things that she's trying to showcase. Whereas someone more on the professional end is probably going to dress more corporate if they want to be seen that way. Someone who's maybe in the middle, is just trying to say, I'm trying to reflect my personality, but also be seen as professional, kind of vibing where we are.
Yeah.
So it has to start with, where you are, how you want people to see you, and then aligning what those style elements are to reflect that.
Is this an overnight process or what?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Of course, there are things that you could start implementing overnight, but if you want people to start thinking of you when they think of certain images or certain things, that happens over time. So, and that goes to your brand. And that's what I speak of in the book, that a brand is not formed overnight. Of course, you can start building on it immediately. And every time someone interacts with you or your product or your service, that's brand equity.
So let's assume we have some viewers and listeners who are maybe new to the game or whatnot. What's the difference, or is there a difference between marketing and branding?
Absolutely. So it's a great question. Yes. So the difference between marketing and branding, and you're getting some gems for free because I talk about this in the book. So
don't give us too much.
I'm gonna give you just
stay
enough,
surface level.
Yeah, just enough to like tease the taste buds to get the book. So yes. So the difference between marketing and branding is that marketing is when you have a product or service. It could be marketing yourself as a personality. But if you have a brand or service, a product or service that you want others to know about, how do you go about doing that? How do you promote? You might buy radio ads. You may do Facebook posts. Okay, so that's you trying to basically sell what you have. Your brand, on the other hand, is that authenticity piece that we talked about. That's every time people interact with you or your product or service, that's building your brand equity, where when people think about you, they have a certain feeling and they have a certain emotion that they tie with that. So when you think about big brands, McDonald's, Coca-Cola. It's not just about the product. You think about how that product makes you feel when you interact with it.
You talked about staying in your feelings.
Yes.
Some people hear that they don't. It's like feelings, business. Shouldn't those be separate? But you kind of say no. You say emotional branding is an important thing. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So another key in the book of the 15 keys in the G code talks about staying in your feelings. And so this is really important because on the business side, like if you're talking about straight contracts and negotiations, completely stay out your feelings.
Right.
When you're talking dollars and cents, stay out of your feelings and get down to it. But when we're talking about marketing and branding, completely stay in your feelings. And what I mean by that is people have emotional reactions to certain things. The colors we wear draw certain emotions.
For sure,
feelings,
no doubt.
Right? When they hear certain words.
When it gets cold, people think pumpkin spice.
Exactly.
Right? You start seeing all this everywhere on social media and everything.
Absolutely.
Yep, you're right.
And so if you have a product or service and you want people to feel a certain way or think a certain way when they think about you or your product, then you need to stay in your feelings so that you can tap into that, so that you're picking the right colors, so that even you're picking the right fonts and things that are going to trigger a certain emotion from people. And so that's why staying inept with your feelings is very important, because you don't want someone to look at your product and not care.
Right.
You want them to feel something. And hopefully you want them to feel a gravitation to like, yeah, I need that in my life.
So you talked a little bit about, getting yourself out there and whatnot. I have a question. I wonder about it all the time. Are business cards really still important, or are they not important? I mean, if I tell somebody I have a podcast, isn't it more effective if they pull their phone out and go straight there and subscribe, follow, or not? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so because I'm a little old school, I'm about 50-50 on this. I feel like depending on the industry and what product you have depends on if you need an actual business card or if you can do everything electronically. So I totally agree. If you have a podcast, it's great to just be able to say, whip out your phones, go to iHeart, or, wherever you're at, download my thing so you can listen to me. Right.
Or watch.
Yeah, or
watch.
YouTube, wherever you're at. But in instances like the event that I'm having tomorrow, where you're mixing and networking with people, it is great for someone to tangibly have something in their hand that connects you with them. Again, because let's say you just exchange numbers and, your contact is in my phone, vice versa. When I go back to Louisiana, I may completely forget what your name is. I'm not going to do that. But let's say if I'm in a networking situation, I might meet 100 people that day.
For sure.
And so,
and then whatever happens after that, food, drinks,
exactly.
Whatever.
So I may forget your name and I may be sitting there going, the guy that I met at the thing, what was his name? But if I go through the cards and I can see bootleg like jazz, that's okay. It was Q. That's his name. So it gives you an opportunity to really have something that's tangible for people to stick with. Yeah.
Okay. So it definitely sounds like a yes.
Yes. I don't think you need to get them in mass production like you used to.
But maybe 100, maybe 200.
Absolutely.
Have something that is on paper that you can give here and there, whatnot.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense, So let's go back to your book.
Okay.
What was the process like to publish a book? Because I think a lot of people get freaked out or don't really know kind of how to go or the first steps. Can you talk about that? What were some of the first steps you took to being an author?
Sure. Well, this is my second book, so of course this was a whole lot easier.
You say it again.
Yes.
It should be, right? That should be what happens.
Like, you seen that commercial, like first kid, second kid?
Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So the first book was like blood, sweat, and tears. And this book was a whole lot easier to get through and to publish. But still, it was a process. So people, I don't want to discourage anyone, though. People can definitely self-publish, and it's possible. The many platforms that we have today, you can do it online, and there are also people who are local in your city who do publishing and you can route your book through them. So you have multiple options. So it's definitely not like back in the day where you used to have to like write a publishing house and they would have to accept you and, then, hope that, they would give you a good deal as far as like percentages, and you don't need a big publishing house now. You can definitely do it yourself.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
When did you first write? Because I know you also write poetry, huh?
Yeah.
What was the first thing you ever wrote?
Okay. So I've been writing since I was a little girl, to keep it real. Just keep it real.
But you're only like, what, 19?
Exactly. Hello. I love that I keep getting younger and younger like every time. But I was one of those little girls who had a little notebook, and like I always thought I was going to be a journalist.
Right.
So like I was, writing creative stories. I would just anything just kind of cool. Sometimes it would just be 3 sentences, but it was just something that would come ahead and I would just write it. And so I always kept a notebook around. And so in elementary school, I want to say it was like 4th grade, we had an assignment, write, make up your own story. And everybody usually did like a page. I wrote like 5 pages. Like my creative story was like 5 pages long. And so my English teacher was like, you really like to write? And I was like, I do.
What was the inspiration? Was it someone? Was it a book? Was it an experience?
Honestly, it was like my own twist on The Wiz. So like, it was the whole, Dorothy, gets transported to, something else. Honestly, I can't remember what all happened in her adventure, but it was, but it was a twist on The Wiz, essentially, was the thing. But I've always been in love with words and with reading since I was little. Like my testimony is, God knows what our path is going to be before we're even aware of it. He knows what gifts he's blessed us with and what he's anointed us with. So he knew that before I even was aware of it. And the other side of that coin is that Satan also knew what God had planned for me before I even knew it. So I say that to say, when I was in kindergarten, my teacher wanted to hold me back because she said, Letrece isn't reading on the same level as the other students. She's not, on par with everyone else, and we think that she needs a little bit more work and we need to hold her back. And my mom was like, whose daughter? Or you're not holding my child back. And
strong mamas. You can't get nowhere without them.
Strong mamas, and my dad was completely supportive of it too. And so our house turned into the color purple. We had signs on everything that was like door, toothbrush.
Nah, that stuff works, man.
It absolutely
I did
worked.
that to learn French, and that worked.
It absolutely works. And so I share this story all the time about the power of parenting and the power of support and the power of just believing in your children, because, the teacher basically had me defeated.
Right.
And my mom was like, no, my parents were like, no, you can do this. You can exceed and you can excel. And like that next grading period, I had exceeded. Like they tested me. I exceeded beyond like where they thought I was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so, I think back to that, to like, if they did hold me back, I probably never would have been an author, because I always probably would have doubted myself. Like, I'm not, the teacher always said I don't read well enough. I don't write well enough. And, that wasn't the truth. Just, it had to be unlocked.
Yeah.
And so I credit my parents to the fullest about it. And, like I used to love for my dad to read to me at night. And like he got so aggravated sometimes because he was like, we've read this story 7 times, Letrece. And I was like, I want to hear it again, just because I love words. And I love that. Yeah. And so it's just always been there.
Speaking of your love for words, how is the use of words different from poetry to literature to books and stuff like that? How is, what is your process of using the words different, or what is your mindset, around that?
Sure. So anytime you can write creatively, that's freedom. So, poets don't have to, use a certain, staccato or like structure your words. It's about how you hear it, how you feel it, and you can structure it however you want. Right. And so there's a real freedom in that. Yeah. Whereas, if you're doing professional writing, press releases, if you're writing a book, it has to be structured in a certain way so that the reader, when the reader opens a book, they have a certain expectations of how the words are going to be laid out, and how you're supposed to process that information. Mm-hmm. And that goes to sentence structure and all of that.
Chapter, book structure. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, you got a point.
So anytime that you can be more on the creative side, you can use words as flexible as you want to, you can be more free with it. But, when you get more to the professional writing side, you have to be more structured, just because it's not, when you're on the creative side, you're kind of writing for yourself. But on the professional side, you're usually writing for other people, knowing that they're going to be the ones to consume it, and you need them to understand, what you're trying to lay out for them.
What was your first book you wrote?
So my first book was called The Right Way. It was a little pun. It was WRITE, because it's a journal and a devotional. And it was all about self-love and awareness. And so when I said earlier about how it was blood, sweat, and tears, it genuinely was this book is personal in a sense because it gives professional stories about me. But the first book are personal stories about me from childhood to adulthood, broken relationships, frustrations, insecurities, just almost kind of just laying it all out there. But it's structured in a way whereas is trying to help people see that, hey, you're not the only one that feels this way. And then secondly, like I said, I've always liked to write. And for me, if I write something down, it helps me process it more. It helps me try to work through it more. And so the book is structured like that. So each chapter, there's space in the book for the reader to write as well. Oh, so they can engage. Okay. Right. So it's a real engagement. So they write, and then they read basically my cosign of what we're talking about, what the topic is. So it sounds like, you definitely work on mental health being, being healthy. Can you talk about, some of the things you do or techniques you do to maintain your sanity while on the road to pursuing your dreams, which it could get, all kinds of things can knock you down. Right. It's rough, all that. I mean, can you elaborate on that? Sure. So the road to mental health, let me say for one, is continuous. You don't just kind of graduate from it and just okay, I'm done. It's something that you constantly work on. The huge step for me was my first book. So I went through art. You're using art. Right. You're using my art. I believe art imitates life, man. It can heal. It imitates life. It does a lot of different things. Yeah. Absolutely. And so in no way am I a licensed therapist. So, I was not trying to, be that role for people with the book. But what I did do was I consulted my therapist and told her hey, I have an idea for this book and this is how I want to format it. Do you think a format like this could help other people? And she completely co-signed. It was absolutely, yes. And so the way that it's set up, it's, you kind of have to give those disclaimers this is not professional advice. This is me sharing my story with you, in hopes that you can identify with it and it will help you as well. And then the space in the book to write, giving you your space to work through your processes as well. But, I went through my father passed away. I'm a huge daddy's girl, and my father passed away. And that was a huge knock, just you deal with relationships and breakups and all that kind of stuff. And so I was just in a R.I.P. for sure, right. And I was dealing with a lot of just kind of heaviness and I didn't really know how to break out of it. And so with the mixture of my therapist, my faith, and that writing helped kind of turn everything around for me. And so as I wrote the first book, it was very, very therapeutic to work through all of those things and then to present something that I can be proud of. So it's kind of turning all of that pain and anguish and frustration into something that I can show proudly now. So it's not just, hey, I went through those things and it sucked. It's I went through those things and it sucked, but I turned it into something that's hopefully helping someone else. And so just today, the continuation of it is taking time and knowing it's okay to say no. It's okay to set limits because me and my mom laugh all the time and say, those people are going to go on about their business and you're going to be the one left, That's a good, struggling with, whatever you took on that was too much for you. So it's okay, to say, I'm not going to be able to do that. Or, you know what, me probably putting myself in that situation probably isn't going to be the best for me. So I'm going to bow out. Yeah. And that also works the other way as well. It's pursuing your dreams. Right. You're going to have to, definitely put some walls up so that you're able to. So that you can focus and stuff like that. So that you can, have tunnel vision on what you're working towards. Right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you have to be okay with that. Yeah. And your tribe is going to support you. And so if there's people being flimsy about it, they're not really a part of your tribe.
Yeah. So D.L. Hughley, I'm a D.L. Hughley fan, and a few other guys who have podcasts and shows like that. He was talking about he doesn't want to go to a therapist because he doesn't want to fix the things that got him to the place that he's at.
Huh.
What are your thoughts about that?
That is interesting. And I can hear him saying that too. I can hear him saying that's big.
Shout out D.L. Hughley.
Right.
Roland Martin, what's up, y'all?
Right. Dope fellas.
Yes.
So, I mean, everybody has to do their own thing. So I'm never going to say like, hey,
I think he has a point though.
You know, he shouldn't feel like that. So because he feels that way, if it's working for him, then I think keep on with it, because at the end of the day, you have to be at peace with yourself and you have to be functional and still in a positive way. So he's been able to like identify like what his triggers are, or like what his aggravations are, and he uses that in a good way to propel him, to keep him on a track. Some people identify their triggers and it's crippling to them, and they're unable to like push forward beyond that,
or get from underneath it,
right, without therapy or without other self-help methods,
right.
So he's identified, but he's found a way to work with it,
right.
So I think if it works for him, that's dope.
That's what's up. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. You have an event coming up tomorrow.
Yes.
Depending on whenever you watch this or
Right.
listen to this, but the event is happening October 26th.
Correct.
Can you talk a little bit more about it?
Yes. So it's going to be here in Houston, Texas at Melodrama Boutique. And I'm really excited about this because I had this great idea about, again, with helping people try to market themselves. Like I wanted people to be able to walk away with something tangible that can help them succeed or further like their portfolio or further what they were trying to do to further brand themselves. And so a lot of times there are mixers. Again, I never want to knock anybody's hustle or like what they have going on, but a lot of times I even will attend a mixer and I'll meet a bunch of people and there's nothing that happens after that, or there's nothing that I necessarily walked away with. So that's why I wanted to partner those two ideas, because I wanted to have a networking business mixer where people can connect with other entrepreneurs, other like-minded people, and try to figure out where those connections are. So hopefully you can work together in the future. But then even if you didn't do that part, you can at least come to the event and get a free headshot. And that's something tangible you can walk away with, because especially in this industry, we all need headshots. Even if you need something professional for your LinkedIn page, to just kind of keep.
And it's free.
Like
you get the picture or the file right there.
So you're going to get it emailed to you 2 business days after the event. So yes, so make sure you have a valid email address.
Right.
Right.
For sure.
And you'll get your absolutely free professional headshot. And so I definitely want to shout out all the team and the photographers that are going to be there. And it's going to be great because, they're giving up their time.
Right.
Because they believe in the vision, trying to empower and, equip people with these great tools as well.
How long has this event been going on, or is this the first time?
This is the first one. So I had an idea for it. This is the first one. I was here in Houston actually for an award ceremony. Yeah. I received an award, a Woman of Wonder Award. And so for my work in communications.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was so shocked and just honored that, especially from a different city. Like I said, I'm from Baton Rouge. And so for someone from another state to recognize me, I was very honored for that. But while I was there at the event, I met a lot of great people. Again, networking and connecting with people. And the owner of Melodrama Boutique was like, you should totally have a book event at my boutique. And I was like, okay. Yeah. And we just built from there.
That's beautiful.
And that's how it played out. And so just seeing just how great the reception was. Like when I announced the event, of course, people back home was like, well, when are you doing it in Baton Rouge? And so, of course, I had to plan a Baton Rouge one.
Yes.
And so that one's going to be in December, and it's wonderful. And so just, again, it's snowballing because, people have seen that. And so I had some people reach out to me from New Orleans who was like, we need you to come and do this in New Orleans. And so that's going to happen January 2020. So, we're just building it and keeping it moving.
So what do what are like the 3-year, 5-year plan goals rather for the event?
So I would love to take this on the road. Like I said, I feel like the format of the event is something that's new and it's different.
I agree. Yeah.
And so, of course, that attract anything new
and free that you can get out of it. Also, I think that's a very beautiful component.
Love free. People love
no matter
free.
how much money you got.
Right. And it's not just free, like, free koozie. Like, it's
Right.
like I said, it's something
real,
real,
tangible.
and it's tangible, and it's useful to you, for the long term. And then you just got to see it. I don't want to spoil it, but the way that the networking is going to happen, the activities that I have set up, it's going to force people to break out of their comfort zones, but in a fun way, so they can genuinely connect with other people and then learn some great principles from my book, so that they can start implementing them right away.
Yeah. So we talked about a few advanced things. I want to think about the person who is like, all right, cool. I got an idea. I'm going to start believing myself, start putting things into plan. What do I do? Where do I go? So let me ask you about DBA, LLC, things like that. How do you know which one is for you?
Sure. So I always encourage people to do an LLC. That's a limited liability company, because that protects you the most, especially if you're a small business. Now, of course, you can change eventually, like as your company grows, and you can get a incorporation. If you feel like you've grown to a certain extent, you have over 50 employees, you can go ahead and do that. But of course, when you do that, there's more insurance that needs to be in place for you.
Taxes.
Exactly, more taxes, and protecting your employees and all of that.
Yeah.
As far as insurance and all of that sort of thing. So people coming out the gate, like you said, like I have an idea, I'm starting small, I always say go with the LLC first.
Yeah. So within that there's also other things you could choose, like disregarded or not, partnership, S corporation, C corporation. Could you talk a little bit more about that for people who may not know, who are watching or listening?
Sure. Again, this is some free stuff. I'm not going to give you.
Don't give, just, but because I think a lot of people, they hear LLC, but they don't know about those other things.
Sure.
And like,
sure. So, of course, every business is, nothing is cookie cutter.
Okay.
Especially in a business, when you're trying to form a business, everyone's going to have certain tax exemptions and like certain things that, makes their idea or their structure different. So I always say, don't try to go this alone. It is really important to know what you don't know and to get attorneys to help you make the correct decisions, because it's all about protecting yourself and your business before you put it out. So if you're going to be incorporated, like I said, you have to have a certain number of things. If you're going to go, with a C-suite, and like just if you're going to have an actual brick and mortar location as opposed to maybe you're doing everything online, all of those different factors play in. So it's kind of tough for me to say, if you check these boxes, do this, because it's so many different variables that can affect, which type of organization, even if it's like a nonprofit, if you're doing 501c3, like it's so many different things that can play into it. So I always say invest in having an attorney that can really walk you through, like understanding the totality of what you're trying to do, so that they can set you up properly to make sure that you're protected and your company's protected.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we don't want to give away too much, but wrapping up, is there anything you would like, you want the viewers and listeners to know about you,
Sure.
Know about your journey?
I will say, one thing I would definitely want everyone to know is that it's okay to be struggling. It's okay to be struggling. And what I mean by that is, especially like if you think about a brand and you think about as you try to market and put yourself out there, you want things to be so polished and so perfect, and you want things to, to be aligned a certain way. And as you're working, of course, you have a game plan. So certain things you need to plan for, certain things, you want to make sure you have in line before you present it to the public. But it's absolutely okay for things not to be absolutely pristine, because in life, in business, in anything, nothing's perfect.
It sounds like you're talking about that process.
Yeah. And it's like, enjoy and just live in all of it.
Like those 10,000 hours. And, right. So it sounds like you're talking about that 10,000 hours and also enjoying the journey.
Absolutely.
Why is that so important?
Well, because it's not
and so difficult to do.
Well, because, if you're anything like me, you have like these goals in your mind, right? And it's like, there are things that I want to achieve. I want to check these boxes, and there's things I want to do. And a lot of times you don't even realize you've checked certain boxes because you're just plowing ahead and you're just grinding it out. And it's like, sometimes when you think back on it, you're like, dang, I didn't even realize that like I achieved that.
Yeah.
Or like I didn't take as much time to enjoy that achievement or to, you know, really be thankful for that achievement. And so
celebrating your small victories.
Right. Absolutely. So, you know,
that's very important to do.
Yeah. So it's like, even if, you know, you're trying to build up your social media platform and you gained 2 followers this week, shout out my 2 followers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, take joy in your small victories, in your small increases, because over time, of course, that adds up.
Yeah.
And so, and all of the struggles that you go through, the late nights, those early mornings, like that's going to be a part of, that's going to be a part of your testimony that you share. That's going to be a part of when you're giving advice and you're mentoring someone else. That's going to be fodder that you're going to be able to pull from. And it's going to make, I always give the example about the gumbo. That's going to make your gumbo taste a whole lot better because you have such richness in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like someone who just kind of was there. It's going to be bland.
I mean, and we know gumbo is better the longer it sits.
Right. And
you know, we got gumbo eaters around. Got the cameraman and gumbo eater.
You know?
Your
So
your manager, your agent manager over there.
Yes, we love it.
Shout out Glennis and Al Quillen.
We all from the South.
Ian.
You know, we're all from the South. So, you know, that's what we love.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's what I would share with people is that I totally agree with you. It's not about your destination. It's about your journey. Being in love with your process, realizing that, you know, I may be struggling right now. I may be frustrated right now, but, you know, it's not going to be like this all the time. And this is just one piece of the larger puzzle. And just realizing it all plays a part of it.
I got two more like really interesting questions I want to ask you.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a 10,000 hour sort of process or whatever, trusted process.
Mm-hmm.
But does that mean that you can't start earning money as soon as you kind of get in or in the beginning stages? Does that mean you have to wait till you've done 10,000 hours to start to try to earn money, accumulate money or whatever?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The reason I say that is the way that our world is structured now is kind of leveled the playing field. So because of social media, because of all of these online platforms, we have ways to start generating income almost immediately. But you have to at least have something for people to purchase or something for people to subscribe to where you can start generating funds. Like, so you have to have at least some level there. So it can't just be an idea.
Right.
You know, you do have to form it at least a little bit, but you don't have to wait until, you know, you're at the complete end of the finish line to at least start generating dollars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the last thing I wanted to ask you, what are some ways people that can grow their followers on social media or subscribers?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in paying for posts on Instagram, Facebook? You know, what are some, you know, without giving away too much, but yeah.
No. Don't do it.
Don't do what?
Do not buy followers. Do not purchase them. Please don't do it.
No, I wasn't saying purchase followers.
Oh.
I was saying pay for boosting and paying for ads.
Okay.
No. I'm not going to pay for followers.
So,
No. Hopefully, that should be obvious. But like my uncle told me one time, common sense ain't always common.
It's not. Absolutely not. It's absolutely not. So, and I talk about this in my book, actually. When we were talking about the authenticity piece, about looking good versus being good, right? So when you look good, you may look at someone's profile and they may have 1 million followers, you know, or they may have, you know, 40.7K followers, you know, and you're like, wow, how did they get this many followers? But when you start looking at their engagement numbers, you see that the ratio is ridiculous, right? So like they may only have 70 likes each post, but they have 1 million followers.
Right.
That ratio is out of control.
Right.
Like that's a good signal that a lot of those followers are probably purchased, right?
Yeah.
So it's better to have organic followers. You can have a lower number, but if they genuinely engage with you, you have more equity.
Yeah.
Okay. Because you
could definitely take that to sponsor someone and be like, listen, we got people actually commenting and
exactly.
Engaging
so
and
it's
liking
really
whatever.
about your engagement numbers rather than your follower numbers. So it's more important to say, let's say you have 2,000 followers and you put out a post saying, hey, I'm doing a pop-up shop tomorrow, and you have at least half of those people show up to your pop-up shop because they actually engage with your content.
Yeah.
That's way better than saying I have 50,000 followers and I say I'm doing a pop-up and you have 100 people come.
So would you pay to promote the post, boost them? If so, like what's the methodology behind that?
So that's a great question. So yes, I see no problems with actually paying to boost posts, paying for advertising, but there is an algorithm to it. So you have to be careful about how much money you're putting towards certain posts. And we talk about this in the book as well. And about how often you do it, because it's almost like once you get in the game, you can't get out of it. And when I say that is, especially with Facebook, like once you start paying to boost posts, the way the algorithm is set up is once you stop doing it, your posts are seen by way less people because they're trying to prompt you to boost up another post.
Money to get you.
They want you to continue to pay.
I've definitely heard from another podcast, shout out to Earn Your Leisure. They definitely talked about how Instagram, Facebook, they do control some people not getting too big through the algorithms and stuff like that.
It's real. It absolutely happens. So you have to be cautious on, like I said, how much you're putting towards the post, and then also how often you do it, because you don't want to get caught up in, well, if I don't boost this post, is it still going to reach a good amount of people without me boosting it? So if you've gained your organic following, it's important that they actually turn on those notifications and they subscribe, so that even though the algorithm may try to trip you up, if they're getting those notifications, you're still going to reach them, right?
Because that's the goal right there. At that point, you got notifications, the algorithm can't do nothing to you. And if you got people who are engaged, it's an algorithm, people will find ways.
Exactly.
So would you say like pay to boost and post once a month regularly?
I think that's fair. Yes. I think that because that gives you some space in between how often that you're doing it. And so it'll actually give you more engagement on that boosted post than normal, as opposed to if you were boosting posts once a week.
Right.
Because almost think about it. It's almost like if you see something, once a week, you kind of might get tired of it. But if you know something new and fresh is coming like once a month, you'll look forward to it.
To that a little bit more.
To that, and it boosts it a little bit more.
Any last words for our watcher, our viewers as well as our listeners?
For my friends and my listeners, yes, I will say, hey y'all, I appreciate you guys taking the time to look at this. If you looked at it listen to this way through, you real, and I appreciate you. It means that
subscribe.
That means that you are genuinely trying to gather some information to better yourself, better your brand, and better your business. So shout out to you for that. That's dope. I would say visit my website, LetreceG.com. Everything that you need to know about the books that I have, my speaking engagements, even ways that if you would like to book me to come out and speak, do a workshop, or even do a personal consultation for you to help you with your business, all my information is there. So I would say visit there. I would love to connect with you, come to your city, see what's up, and just try to help build, because I'm all about helping people. Like, what's the point of having all this knowledge if you're not going to share it and, help people to better themselves? So, yeah.
And I'm your host, Q. Here's the beautiful book. I love it. I've been reading it.
Thank you.
Hey, if you like anything you've watched or listened to, shout out to all the listeners as well. Don't forget to subscribe. I can't bring this to you if you ain't engaged, if you ain't donating and supporting. Subscribe at YouTube, Bootleg Like Jazz. I am also available on iHeartRadio. And then also www.patreon. I was going to say Patron. I'm ready to drink. I am ready to drink.
It's Friday night, y'all.
It is. It's been a long damn week. Subscribe at patreon.com/BLLJ. If you also have a comment you want to leave, hey, use the hashtag BLLJ.